Oh, we're recording.
Mhm.
There we go.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Megan. Good to see you
And
again.
always great to see you. Hello, wise parents. Thank you so much for joining Jack and I again for another conversation.
Yes, and for those that
It's
I can't see, hi.
it's our intention to bring you valuable information and practical application of that information so that we can support your kids as best as possible, so that you can support and have great relationships with your kids and beyond. So that is our intention for today. And the topic of today is going to be attachment theory. It's the
Yay.
theory, but then we're going to give you a lot of practical applications of what does this mean and why is it important to have a secure attachment with your child, with yourself, with other, beyond, and what to do if it's feeling not so secure. So, Jack, you want to give us a little background on it?
Sure. Well, attachment theory actually is came out of the end after the end of World War II. A psychologist, John Bowlby, began to notice that there were lots of orphanages and that some children thrived and some didn't. And he was like, why is that? Because people were given the same amount of food and things, but some children proved to be resilient and were able to respond. And these are infants. And there are even some unethical experiments carried out at some point where children were given either a teddy bear, a nice fluffy warm one, or another animal-like shape, but it was made out of wire and it wasn't huggable. And of course, what they found was that the children who were able to hug things and responded with softness did better than the children who didn't. And hopefully what they did quickly is give everybody a teddy bear in addition to the food. And so Bowlby continued to look at this, and what he discovered is that human beings thrive when they have what he would call secure attachment. And secure attachment means you have confidence that the person that you're close to is there for you, sees you for who you are, respects, understands you, gives you feedback that lets you know they understand you. One great example is when a baby cries, parents who are able to perceive that cry means change my diaper, really, the infant responded to that really well. The parents who didn't, say the father who was unused to such things, might go around and like play with the baby in order to console them or to entertain them so they'd stop crying, or do something, shake or rattle in their face. But because it was about a diaper, the child didn't feel seen and heard in that moment. So that they begin to distrust the connection with the caregiver. Now, by the way, the good thing is you don't have to do this all the time. If you're getting it like 50%, it's more than enough. Mother Nature has lots of feedback mechanisms that are fail-safe. But the reality is that a child needs to have that sense of I'm seen, I belong, what I need matters, and that I can count on the other person being there, a secure attachment object, a reliable object. And that often comes with, we talked last time about the different types of nervous systems we have. And when a parent's face is relaxed and calm with glowing eyes and looking at an infant, that infant's nervous system goes, excellent, and begins to model itself in that direction. And when this happens frequently enough, what happens then is the child becomes securely attached. They begin to feel I'm loved, I'm respected, I'm valuable, I'm precious, I'm okay.
My needs are met.
My needs are met.
Most of the time.
Right. People listen to me, which means I count. All these things begin to happen. And Bowlby coined the term, and other people added to it. That's secure attachment. And it all through life, that secure attachment means that when you're in a situation that is difficult, you can count on yourself because your neurological system was formed in a way that says you're okay. What you think and feel is valuable. Now, when that can't happen, and there's lots and lots of reasons, and the rule number one is never beat yourself up if you're a parent and you're hearing lectures like this. Don't take it with a grain of salt, even though it's pretty good information, but it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. What happens next is that parents are often preoccupied, or they're distracted or busy or worried, and a child reaches out for connection, and the parent responds a little bit but not completely, and the child begins to be charming, they begin to be cute, they begin to show precocious behaviors to draw the parent's attention, and it's a form of anxiety. Like they're worried they're not getting enough attention, so they're reaching out. And a child who does that starts to like manipulate circumstances, worries that they're never going to get what they need, and they begin to like doubt their internal sense of it's okay to be me. And they begin to have feelings like, well, to be liked, I have to be pretty, or I have to be strong, or I have to be smart to be liked, which is very different from I'm smart and you just are, or you're smart in the particular way that you're smart. Doesn't mean you have to be smart like other people. But when you're anxiously attached, you're always scanning the environment to make sure that you're lovable, that you fit in, that you're seen, that you're valued, that you're precious. And we reach out that way. And we'll get in later about what that means later in relationships. Now, that is usually, by the way, anger and misbehaving can also be part of trying to be anxiously attached. So it doesn't mean that just because a child is being perfect in order to get love, it doesn't mean they also don't try to be bad in order to get love. Both create anxious attachment. Then what happens is, after a while, if these don't work, either being charming or being difficult, the child begins to become self-sufficient. They begin to go internally, and they become what Bowlby and others have called avoidantly attached. That is, I'm okay inside of me, everything's all right, you're the problem. It's your fault. It's I want, but they don't have a sense of reciprocity. That is, they don't say, I want, and you can also share with me, which is what a securely attached, or frankly, an anxiously attached child will do. But the avoidant child often just wants what they want. And not the healthy narcissistic stage that all children go through, but that thing of they either manipulate or do whatever they need to do to get what they want. And they also become invulnerable in many ways. It's hard to hurt them emotionally. They become often distant in relationships. And there's another possibility, which we creative humans do, which is to do both. To combine both styles of attachment. That is, I don't care, but I really care, and switching back and forth between the two, and under different circumstances. Now, those are the basic attachment styles. I always like to say we all have these. It's just a question of under what circumstances am I securely attached? Under what circumstances am I avoidantly attached? Under what circumstances am I anxiously attached? And under what circumstances am I both? And, it's the nice thing is when you're securely attached, you actually go through these same things. You just have a lot more choice. And you have a lot more flexibility in the process, where if you have been, as an infant, put into these roles, then you're more rigid in how you use them. So it's harder to move around, to be authentic, to be real, to be in a place where you can say, oh, I see you, and I trust that you see me, and we're going to have a good time together.
To feel safe. And just for people to frame this, I mean, really only about, from what I've read and heard, only about 50%, max 60% of people in the world are securely attached. So there are, I don't know what the current numbers are, how they measure this, but so it's not, we run the spectrum. securely attached and securely attached. Like you said, it could change moment to moment depending on the circumstances. And also just even if you as a parent are listening to this going, oh my gosh, I was raised and I feel like I developed behaviors because of my parents, or I might be insecurely attached. We're not destined for that our entire life. This is something that we can work towards.
Oh,
And
good
that's why
point.
we want to share this to say you're not destined to be insecurely attached. Or if you see some of these behaviors in your children, it doesn't mean that they will always be insecurely attached. This is not a pre-written destiny. The reason that this is important is to notice if you or your child are feeling insecurely attached in that moment. What can you do about it? And so being aware, I think, is one of the first pieces that we will work on. So it's having this information, it's being able to catch yourself in that moment, and then work towards secure attachment. So I work with a lot more adults in this capacity, and I have over the last couple of years. And I will share some practices in this realm, but I just want everybody to know, like, breathe. This is something that we're becoming more and more aware of, and that there are ways to create secure attachment.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, because this is not written in stone. Attachment style is malleable. It can be changed over the lifetime. In fact, and as you pointed out, we grow and change and shift, and we can lose attachment too. You can lose secure attachment because of, difficult situations and whatnot. But the nice thing is once I love you mentioned noticing, like begin to say, oh, do I feel confident? Do I feel like, what my thoughts and feelings are valuable? Do I feel like I can make an effect in the world? That's usually a sense of secure attachment. And our last episode, again, we talked about different neurological states and how we have this lovely quality of being able to be ventral vagal. That is, we're in a place where love, generosity, compassion, caring are our primary neurological thing, which is the same thing as secure attachment.
Exactly.
It's the same function.
Exactly.
So practically.
Yeah, what do we do with this information? I will say I'm going to give my cliff notes on where I've started to use this. I learned about attachment theory a couple of years ago, and I've been boiling it down to the most simplified version I can have for myself. So I'm going to share that right now in hopes that can help others. But so to build up that muscle of awareness in myself, I've started to notice if I am looking at my own behaviors and reactions to things, if I am being avoidant or if I'm controlling or forcing something, both of those behaviors arise out of me feeling insecure in the moment. Because if I was feeling secure, like you said, I would just be with whatever was arising. I could be with my own emotions. I could be with the emotions of someone else. It just wouldn't occur to me to either be avoidant or controlling. That is secure attachment with the self or with others. And so what I've done is I've kind of stripped away all the labels, because I think people get stuck in labels a lot. Oh, like I'm avoidant or I'm anxious. It's like, okay, we all can be both depending on the circumstances. So what's important to me is, am I feeling insecure, and just noticing my own behavior. If I am avoidant or controlling, forcing, then I say to myself, oh, I must be feeling a bit insecure in the moment. Am I afraid of something here? And if so, how can I move forward from a more secure, safe place? So I have the lens really of self, like you're creating security in the self first, because I think that does a lot. And I think that has helped me with my parenting when I can start to realize, oh, I'm trying to control my child here. Why would I be doing that? Oh, because I feel judged or I feel unsafe if my child isn't behaving in a certain way. Am I trying to avoid something? So I really just kept this question in my mind. And I have actually an acronym I can share more towards the end on how to create secure attachment. But for me, this noticing piece has gone so far. And actually, as I think about it with my kids, if I can notice that they're avoiding something, or I notice they're trying to force or control or manipulate something, how it occurs to me is I don't take that behavior and project it on them like they're bad, they're doing something wrong, they're doing something to personally offend me or make me mad or something against me. What I've started to realize and ingrain is that they are feeling insecure. they're feeling insecure in this moment. They're afraid of something. Can I speak to that version of themselves? How do I create more security with them so that they can better handle the situation going forward? So I'm practicing parent in this. I want to see, I'm going to throw it back over to you, Jack, and see what you hear out of that. Any practices, anything that we can keep teasing out for parents here?
Yeah, I think it's, first of all, I love it that we're out of this conversation is this sense of it's malleable. And that by noticing, observing, you can see where you are, your kids are. I mean, that's, of course, it's easier said than done. And so, I don't know, there's a lot, attachment is actually pretty biological. You don't have to think about it too much. Your body really knows how to attach. And it knows how to attach to your children really well. Now, of course, the things like the stress of life, any emergencies or just, worrying about stuff, certainly worry is a big issue that keeps people from being present to what attachment looks like. But I know with children, like it's just sort of a given, especially the smaller children whose nervous systems are really forming, although we form up until, well, probably forever, but 18 at least before the nervous system is myelinated. That is, it's more set in its ways. But having a compassionate face when you can, and actually being frank about when you're angry and processing that anger without using too many words, but using the face and using sound of your voice. When you talk to a child and you talk to them with an angry voice, a loud voice, a shrill voice, any of that doesn't give them a sense of bonding. And we all know this intuitively. Everybody I know, when it comes down to it, prefers real, gentle, appropriate approach to how they feel. And now some people don't trust that. Now I won't get into that right now, but a child's body trusts that. When you show your face, you show your eyes, you be real about what you're feeling, but you also do it in a modulated tone of voice, a little bit like what I'm using now, but you develop your own style. By the way, really important, everybody does it differently. Okay, whatever works for your family, it doesn't hurt people, especially yourself. We often hold things in that we should be like letting it come out, and that takes a toll on us. But if you're real with your children, but you also do it with a lot of not calm face, but empathic, connected face. And all you got to do is feel it and your face will show it. I mean, that's guaranteed. Even if it's just like little tiny micro movements, it will show it. And the nervous system of your child will pick it up and they will feel secure. We're not looking at good behavior here. That may come, but we're looking at, do I feel safe? Do I belong? Do I feel it's okay to be me and it's okay to be you, trust you?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
What you were saying is right along that.
Is it okay to be with these big feelings? So if we look at secure attachment, what does that mean with our ability to sit with different emotions? Is it okay to be angry and still feel securely attached to ourselves and our caregivers? Is it okay to feel sad? And is that okay? Am I going to be safe feeling this emotion, feeling sadness? Is it okay for me to cry? All of that, as caregivers, we can make room for our kids to still be securely attached with the big feelings that they're feeling there. Obviously, we want to make sure that if it's anger, that it's coming out in a way that's not hurting themselves or you or anyone else around. But I think creating space for that type of experience too can mean a lot. It does meet the way that I think about attachment is really about meeting needs. And I know you've been saying a lot more around the needs of belonging, the needs of connection. Those are human needs. We have many, many human needs. The need to be able to feel whatever it is arising. Can I create safety there for myself? That's where I realized that as a child growing up, there was no safety for me in feeling sadness or feeling anger. That wasn't part of my family's culture.
Yep,
I was like, those
absolutely.
emotions are wrong. That's what I internalized. Those emotions are wrong. You shouldn't be feeling them. If you do, you gotta move through it as fast as possible. there's no, this wasn't spoken out loud, but it was like, there's no value there. If you're crying, if you're upset, just get over it. If you're angry, nope, not allowed. So as an adult, I've had to create secure attachment with myself to be like, I am still okay and safe to feel sadness, to feel anger. And that has helped as I've parented my kids. Again, not doing it perfectly, if that even exists, but just making room to be like, these are some big feelings and it's okay. And we don't have to withdraw the love from ourselves in order to be with this, there's nothing wrong.
That's a great point. It really is like that sense of, in some ways, by being kind and clear and boundaried with yourself. And by boundaried, I don't mean rigid. You talked about what rigid was, but no, boundaried is simply, it's okay to be me, and I don't have to go someplace that I don't want to go. I get to be self-regulating.
Yeah, and to your point on self-regulating, it means that we are able to modulate our own nervous system. It doesn't mean not experience that we're calm all the time. I think a lot of people misinterpret that.
No, yeah, regulation is not, that would be dysregulated if you were calm all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Jack, I would love to talk more about the practical applications of this. And I know that you said we're not always securely attached to our kids, as growing up, our kids are not always securely attached to us as their parents and caregivers. We're not even always securely attached to our partners, to our colleagues, the people in our lives. We have ruptures, attachment ruptures, and those happen, right? They're arguments, they're things that come up, they're differences, they're, attachments can get ruptured. With ourselves, an attachment can get ruptured. And there are ways that we can move forward. And I think you and I in a messaging chain exchanged an acronym that I learned from someone I'd love to share. And I'd love your comments on it and, anything that you have to add there.
I love acronyms.
So I know it honestly, it's made it so easy for me to remember. So the acronym is HEART. HEART, heart or hearts. So I'll go through all of them. And the first one, this is about how to create secure attachment. And the H stands for here I am. It's like that simple. I am present. Here I am. The E stands for express delight. So what does it mean to express delight? Express delight means, can I see, and I know you and I have done this frequently when we get on a call. I'm so happy to see you. I love our conversations. Absolutely. We end it this way. We express delight in each other. And we do this with our kids all the time. Oh, you did such a great job. And my kids just are riding their bikes a lot now. And like, I see you, I saw that you tried so hard and you're working really hard, and just being with them and expressing the delight of them as an individual, not contingent, not like I'm proud of you or happy with you only because of this thing. It's just like, you are inherently this way and I see you and I express my delight in that. The A stands for attunement. What does attunement mean? Attunement means I can see and observe and feel the emotional state that you're in. You can see, observe, and feel the emotional state that I'm in. We make room for each other. We are connected in our and you could say more along the lines of we're connected. Our nervous systems are connected. That is a very attuned state. I'm going to zip through these and I'm going to get your full feedback on all of them, Jack. Hope you can remember them. We'll do a review. H, right. Here I am. E, express delight. A, attune. R, rituals and routines. And many of us, we don't think consciously about our rituals and routines, but we have them. When we wake up, we see our kids, we give our kids a hug in the morning. Good morning, I love you. How are you? Sit down, have breakfast together. They get home from school. Hey, how was school? What happened? These little moments, putting them to bed. These are rituals and routines, and they create a sense of security and safety and knowing, being certain like, oh, these pieces are that's what's going to happen next. And I know I'll get a chance to connect in this way. So that's R. And the T, I find, is one of the most important ones for me, at least, because I can have a more avoidant attachment style. The T is turn towards each other, or turn towards yourself if you're trying to create a more secure attachment with yourself. So what does it mean to turn towards someone after conflict, I should say? Sometimes after conflict, we want to pull away entirely. We want to just get ourselves out there, even with ourselves. If we're mad at ourselves, or if you see your kid being mad at themselves, like they are currently insecurely attached to themselves, they might berate themselves, they might talk poorly about themselves, they are turning against themselves in conflict. So what we want to do is shift that and turn towards, oh, I see myself. Oh, I did make that mistake. It's okay. I'm okay. Or, hey, yeah, you did do that. I did get hurt from that. I'm hurt right now, but I know that we can work through this. That is turning towards someone. That can be very hard depending on our attachment style. And you can see, I know I frequently see in the people I work with, if one person is more avoidant and the other is more anxious, that creates a funny pattern in itself. The more avoidant person is going to run from the conflict. The person that has more anxious tendencies is going to go after the person that's more avoidant to say like, hey, I can't let this go. That makes the avoidant person run farther. So we can see these patterns of attachment style play out, and there's nothing wrong. It's just trying to be observant of it. So anyway, the T is turning towards each other. And then the S, if we do put this towards ourselves, is, I forgot what it actually stands for. It's something like the secure attachment with self. Can I do the same thing that I just went through with myself as I do with others? I know that was a lot. Should we do a review? I'm curious about your thoughts. What is applicable here for parents?
First of all, I'm guessing that we can have somewhere there will be an actual written copy of those, so that
I
people
can
like
definitely
me that
do that.
forget everything. Yeah, no, it was a lovely. I like things that show progression, like how we can move through different states and learn. I mean, like a lot of we frankly. We live in a culture with a lot of very confusing messages and different parenting styles, and a lot of stuff was based on practices that we no longer adhere to, but we still sort of do, unconsciously. And, this movement away from physical punishment with children, a lot of people still believe it makes sense to whack a child. And frankly, every once in a while, if they're doing something really dangerous and you want to get them into a compliant mode, that's a very effective way of training somebody. But if you want to raise a human, it's very much less effective. In fact, that old, spare the rod and spoil the child had such bad scientific underpinnings. We now know that we have great data. I mean, thank God we live in an era when we can start to prove things, but we get pretty reliable information. But what I like is that you're talking about having a template for the qualities of what it means to be securely attached, and then being able to practice.
Yes.
Because let's face it. None of us gets this right. We just don't.
No.
But
I didn't. This wasn't part of my understanding as a child growing up. We all need practice. I find these things, I frequently go through and still practicing. But what does give me solace is knowing that this is the framework that I can practice. Because I think before understanding attachment theory, before having practices to do, I took so much personally. I felt like lost and kind of hopeless with like, what am I doing wrong? What's happening here? And now my mind has a better grasp of, okay, attachment is a thing. It's the way that we connect as human beings. We have tendencies, if we're not feeling secure in the moment, our behavior is going to be a certain way, ours or others. And if it is, and if we notice it, there are ways to kind of move back towards secure attachment. All of that, even in the moment when I'm having a really hard time as a parent or with my kids or partner or something, I know, this doesn't mean the relationship is doomed. It just means I have work to do.
Absolutely. The good thing is that we're all in the same boat. What I love is that every family can in fact discover the behaviors and qualities that allowed that family to feel both safe in and of itself, and also safe and connected to other families, even though they may have very different styles of relating. And we're all diverse. That's the beauty of it. We get to be who we are, while at the same time unique and all this wonderful stuff. And at the same time, we're humans and we can interact. there's a lot of information here. We're actually putting out a lot of really interesting information that, and by the way, you can Google almost all this stuff and you'll find some explanation of it. But the real thing is, in working with children, that we have kind of a goal in mind, you know, to raise a loving, responsible, creative, caring child who will actually be fun to hang out with. And when we're older and infirm and they're taking care of us, that they will treat us in the way that we hope to be treated.
Very self-serving, of course.
Because we treated them that way.
Yes.
But a big one for me, and it's a really big one, is setting up, I think you referred to it in Hearts, with there's rhythms and structures within a family. My mentor, Barbara Coloroso, whom the world's fastest talker, by the way, she is absolutely incredible. But she said there were three kinds of parenting styles: the loosey-goosey parenting style, the very rigid or brick wall parenting style, and then what she would call the backbone parenting style. Certain amount of rigidity, but a lot of flexibility. You know, so it could bend and reach and twist and change depending upon the situation. And I think that's a good description of attachment, of secure attachment. And if we didn't get it, we can create it. So,
so you just described that. The loosey-goosey is avoidant. It's like, oh, not even going to deal with it. Right. Whatever, do whatever.
Let them do whatever they want.
The rigid are anything that we do that's extremely rigid comes out of our need to control something.
My way or the highway, and there is no highway.
Exactly. And that is the anxious attachment. And then the backbone seems like, okay, I have structure and I can bend. That is secure. I can be with whatever arises. I know what tools to use, maybe a little bit more open, maybe a little bit more structure. Yeah. I mean, all of these to me are just relational patterns. And these relational patterns just keep coming and coming. And that's why, honestly, I don't know if it's because I look for the simplest explanation. And to me, the simplest explanation is just look at how are we behaving? How are others behaving? What might that indicate about one's internal state? What might that indicate? And how can we work with that information versus just the outward behavior that we want to judge?
Absolutely. You know, I find that one of the biggest laboratories for working on this is getting kids to school in the morning. You know, especially if you have more than one. One is enough, by the way. But getting everybody dressed, teeth brushed, you know, whatever you need to get brushed in the morning. And lunches, books, clothing. Are you dressed? Do you have enough on? You know, so on. And getting everybody out the door without people going crazy, especially the parents.
Exactly.
And
I'm just laughing because that is a perfect example.
Well, when you look at it from secure attachment, there is age-appropriate behaviors that children can be expected to do and to perform. And when a family models those expectations, like one of my other mentors, who wrote a book called Duct Tape Parenting, and the duct tape's not for the kids. Is that when a child can walk, a child can work. And what she meant by that is that the child is valuable, competent, confident, fresh, able to take care of themselves at appropriate levels. And we see that and we encourage it. So in that early morning fracas where everybody's running around trying to find the lost shoes and the books that the dog ate, and, you know, the whole thing, what is the atmosphere of secure attachment? Who is seen as competent in their areas of competence? Everybody? Only one person? Like, is it mom and she's doing everything? You know, the rest, or maybe it's dad. I mean, that certainly was my role for many years as a single male parent. So what's where do we see that secure attachment working in that very, very active moving, many moving parts? Because ideally, when the children walk out the door, the parent is energized, happy. The children are energized, happy, feeling confident in some fantasy world. And
like, those are great days when that happens. Yeah.
And nobody missed the bus, and you don't have to make calls to say we're going to be 10 minutes late, and nobody forgot their lunch. That is all indicative of hearts. Like when all that stuff is happening, that is what tends to happen. Not all the time. There's always something, but that tends to happen. So I think that, I think that morning rush for the bus or whatever you do to get taken to school is a great laboratory for looking at
It is.
how do we see each other so nobody's freaking out, nobody's working themselves to death while everybody else sits around and plays video games. I have no idea any family would ever have that situation. But what does it look like when we're all securely attached and the family is secure in its roles, obligations, responsibilities, and behaviors?
Yeah. I
think
love
it'd be
that you brought
fun.
up. It is the perfect lab. And, you know, some days are better than others. And I, as a parent, like assume my responsibility. Did I wake up with enough time to get myself centered before my kids woke up so that I am secure and starting my day
Absolutely.
well and holding that space, that energetic space. I love that you brought up confidence and competence. There's a beautiful loop there.
Yep.
The more competent we are at something, the more confident we are. And that is kind of a nice spiral,
Yep.
Spiral up, or I guess it could be spiral down. We do a 4-point check before my kids leave for school. That is like, they know their roles. And now I've graduated from having to tell them what to do to asking questions. Hey, where are you guys? Have you brushed your teeth? Have you done this? Have you done that? Just to check in on like, this is how much longer we have, and have you done these things yet? And then they're responsible for their 4-point check as we walk out of the house. Lunch, water bottle, all the things in their bag, I guess, shoes on, backpack. 5, I don't know how many that is, but yeah, it's fun. And then giving ourselves grace for like, oh, this today wasn't great. Here's why it wasn't great. What could we do differently the next day?
Yeah, and frankly, you sort of alluded to this too, if you didn't say it outright, which is celebrating those successes in ways that are, you know, we have all kinds of things about praise and simple noticing. You know, like we don't want to praise too much because that just creates a token economy. But you know, the process of beginning to notice what people are doing and regarding, you know, and the family as a whole doing that. We did a great job this week, and so did this, and we did that, and now we're going to have, I don't know, pizza.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm like a simple one. Thank you for remembering you didn't have your water bottle there. That's great. I'm really glad that you remembered now versus when we got to school.
Right, you must feel
Like,
great about it.
yeah, exactly. Good job. How do you feel?
Yeah.
No, this is great. I mean, I'm sure we can continue talking a lot about this. I'm so interested on if the parents are still with us, what are you gleaning from this conversation? If you have questions for Jack, for myself, we are here. If there's a topic that you're interested in that you want to learn more about, or, you know, talk about in this community space, how can we organize that? How can we facilitate that and practice parenting together?
Amen.
Jack, any final words, thoughts?
Well, if I could make a magic wish, I would wish that we could talk endlessly about how to get kids out the door to school in a beautiful, receptive, accepting frame of mind, ready to learn, and how the teachers can do the same thing, of course. But yeah, I would love to talk to everybody about how do you make that happen? Because I don't underestimate for a second how difficult it is and how challenging it can be. Anyway, that'd be my wish. If I had a wish, that would be it.
I love it. Thank you. It is present. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll say to be continued.
Thanks, Megan. Again, always fun. And
thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate your wisdom, your words, your time, energy.
And likewise.
Thank you.